Kia ora. So here we are opening up Pro Tools. Just go to the dock. I've got it on the left, but it might be on the bottom of your screen. And there's our friendly Pro Tools icon. Click that and it should open up. If it's the first time it's opened up on the machine, it may take a little while. It's got to load all the plugins. This is called the dashboard, as we've talked about in class. So this is where we can name our session. I'm going to call this one Zombie Army 4. I want a WAV file, sample rate 48K, bit depth 24-bit, just like we talked about in class, the digital parameters. For the I/O settings, let's just go with stereo mix unless you've got some custom settings, and tick interleaved files. I often prompt for location so I can set up where the file saves. If you're using your own computer, you could set it up so you always just go to the same place. In this case, I want to go to the Documents, AP502 post folder and save it there. This is going to create the session folder and the blank session that I'm going to build up. So once I've got that done, I'm going to go and navigate my way through Finder, and I'm just going to get my Zombie Army 4 trailer video, which I've handily put on the desktop, and I'm going to put it into the video files folder. This is so the file is always in the right place when Pro Tools is looking for it, especially if you're working on different machines and moving it around. Keeping your files together is a really important part of professional workflow. So we're going to import the video file, go to File, Import, and Video, and this will bring up the video import dialog. Navigate your way to where you've saved the clip, which of course is in the video files folder. Mine's jumped straight to it. You can see there. And so once I have opened that file, it's going to ask me if I want to bring in the original audio or where I want it to go. I'm going to import that, and then it asks me where I want to save that audio. So it defaults to the audio files folder, which is associated with the session. I'm just going to call it OG soundtrack, and because I might use it for cues, so if there's explosions, I can use the WAV files to line things up or to set out a plan for where I'm going to put things later. So if I want to change between the mix window and the edit window, I can go up to the Windows menu, or I can just use Command equals, which is the quick key to swap between the two. I probably want to look at the edit window interface so that I can figure out where things are happening in time. Not really mixing yet. Here's my transport controls, so I can play. And if I close the video window, I often work on two screens, so I can have one sent away to another screen, but if not, I'll turn it on and off. You see there in the Windows menu, you can go to the video, or Command 9 on the numeric keypad opens and closes it. I didn't record the sound on this of the OG thing because I knew I was going to be talking, which is a bit of a shame really, but you'll just have to trust me that these things are happening. We'll do a bit of this in class as well. So this marker I just created, you'll notice that I clicked the plus button on the marker ruler. Now if you can't see the marker ruler, you need to go up to View Ruler Options, or I'll show you the menu in class to open it up. And I've just called that one Shark. So I'm really just using the timeline to roughly lay out where the scenes are for each thing that I'm going to be putting together. And obviously in this sort of game trailer that's a little less useful. See, I just clicked the plus there while it was playing through. I can now double click on it, and that allows me to edit, so I can change the name or the type of marker that it is. We'll talk about that in class if we haven't already. So I'm calling this Battle 1, probably linked to the heavy machine gun. And then I'm going to click in Battle 2, so it's a perspective change. And just go through, and as I go along, change the names of things. So there's a bit of a melee. Obviously I've sped this up so that you don't have to watch me type in an incredibly slow manner. So I'm going to go through, heal, look just as I watch, looking for main parts of the scene so that I can quickly jump to bits and pieces through these markers. May or may not be useful for you. It's pretty normal to have this sort of thing happening as a way to quickly jump from scene to scene. I use it in music a lot for arrangement. Verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus. And go through and name these things. And I'm just either clicking enter on the numeric keypad to put them in, or clicking the plus on the ruler. And if you go up to the windows, you can get to the memory locations window, and this allows you, when it's in full size, to just click on each thing, and you'll notice the cursor's jumping from scene to scene. So I'm actually moving into different parts. So if I decide suddenly I want to go to the melee section, I can jump back to marker 4 and know that that's around about where I'm going to place something. And obviously if I right click on things, I can go and edit the names. So I just change that slow-mo to add a dash, and yes, memory locations window. So here we are. I've now laid out my scene, and from here on in I'm pretty much just going to go through and add some tracks, and those tracks are going to be for different aspects of the sound. So I'm going to start off with some music tracks, and I've already sort of identified that I want 3 different types of music. I kind of want some music that's building up. I'm going to call this music tense, so it'll probably not have any drums, probably be I'm thinking a low synth line, something that's just going waiting to, something's happening, something's gonna happen. And then when the fighting starts and the gameplay, I'll call that the action section, probably going to have drums, a bit of a beat. Remember, this is my game trailer, so I kind of want it to be exciting. And then the aftermath, I want to, as it's chilling out or any quiet sections, go back to something similar to the intro. We'll talk about that. Now here I'm just making a new audio or set of audio tracks called DX, so remember that's dialogue, and I'm just going to name a track for every character because I want to go through and be able to replace the characters' vocalizations. So I've got June, who's the main character, and she'll be running around, and then there's a radio voice that pops up, sort of the instructions, narrator if you will. Then we've got, obviously it's a zombie adventure, a zombie war. So I'm going to have walker zombies wandering around going brains. And then there's a bomber who actually just screams the whole time. And there's a sniper as well who makes a sound to tell you that they've got you lined up in their sights. And the shark also makes vocalizations. So these are examples of dialogue that I'm going to replace. I probably won't use the DX actually because it just makes the track too hard to read. I want to be able to look at it and go zombie walker, zombie bomber, zombie sniper, shark, so that I know which track, especially when I'm mixing later on in the mix interface. And so I'm going to put all the music into a music folder. So I just right click on one of the titles having highlighted it and go new folder, move to new folder. And I'm going to choose a routing folder because I want to be able to put plugins on it. Make sure you tick that routing box so that it gets there, and I'm just going to call it MX, so you can see it's created a folder and it's put those 3 tracks in there. I can hide them away, and that's quite useful for once the track count gets up. I'm going to do the same for the dialogue, so I'll put them into a DX folder, make a new one, make sure it's routing, stereo routing folder so it can pan, and call it DX. So all my character voices are in there, and you can see it chunking away, changing the outputs to go to the folder. And now I can close that folder. Finally, I'm going to get into some effects, and this is probably going to take the longest part of the video because I have to go through. And every time I see something that's going to make a noise, I might make a track for it. I'll start off probably with the atmospheres. So obviously we're in a harbour, so I might have an Atmos track that's all about, sounds of the harbour, seagulls, crab monsters, water lapping, and so this is going to be my Atmos track, harbour sounds. I might go into a port and record that in real life. There's also, let's see, if we look around over here, you see in the background there's a thing called the Hell Tower. Now this is a undead tower that's raising corpses up to attack me, and it's got a big flame at the top of it called the Hell Tower. So I want to create a sound that's running in the background. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do yet, but in the original soundtrack it's just a kind of ominous rumbling and a bit of flame, and there's bits coming off it. So I'll probably design some sort of evil sounding tower with flames crackling, although maybe I'll put that on a different track. So you can have as many Atmos tracks as you need to layer the sound, and I think more complex things will have more tracks. So I'm going to make a stereo track. Actually, maybe I'll stay with mono for this. So I'll make an Atmos track for the fire that's burning on the top of the tower. And the reason I want it to be a mono track is, as you'll notice as it plays through, I want to be able to pan that around in the stereo field so that a singular location of the tower, as I change the orientation of the character, I could actually pan the tower around and have it, sort of located. I'll also make another Atmos track here for wind, just generally, weather. Looking at the scene, there's really a bit of wind blowing those things around. And what you can't hear on the original soundtrack is that the zombies, when they first, I do an action a little bit later on, and the zombie horde sort of wakes up and there's the incoherent howls of a crowd of zombies. So I'll make a zombie horde track, bit of a spot effect. But it's going to be layers and layers of zombies. So now I can start looking at the action shots, and you'll notice there you can see June, the main character, running around on this concrete pier. So when it comes to doing Foley for footsteps and things like that, I'm going to need a track for pretty much every character I can see. So I'll start off with a footsteps track for June, and then I will hit the plus button on the right hand side, and that'll create a new thing for me to describe a new track. You can make lots of tracks of different types at once. Again, mono, because I want the footsteps to move around in a stereo field. I'll make some footsteps for the things in the water. There's some zombies in the water. A lot of zombies on the dry concrete pier, so I'll call those zombie footsteps, I guess. There's also running footsteps, so there's some of the zombies run, screaming at you to explode. Super exciting. And obviously when you're walking versus running, you get a different cadence, you get a different weight of the character moving. And I will also probably want to make some cloth movements, especially for June, who's sort of front and center in the picture. So as June moves around, the jacket and trousers and belts and the guns, everything's clanking, so the movement of a person, it's pretty common to do a low-level track of what's called a cloth pass. And obviously shooting, so we've got a shotgun. With this shotgun, it's pump action, so we're going to go in between shots, and it moves around, it clanks, it clicks. So I've seen all of those things happening just there. And the machine that I first shoot rotates, so it's got a sort of squeaky wheel sound, and obviously our zombie shark that's hanging there in the opening is thrashing around, splashing and roaring. So the roaring will be on the dialogue. There's an electrical cable here that's going bzzz, so I'll need arcing electrical cable as I walk around. And I've picked up a heavy machine gun there, so it's a game. There's a noise when you pick things up. I'll create something for that. And here come the zombies. So the zombie horde goes off at this point, and then there's some zombies ripping up out of the ground. Weirdly, they don't leave any holes. I wonder if the game makers thought about that. So I need the sound of zombies unearthing themselves as they pop up, and then obviously my heavy machine gun is going to be cranking away, so I'm going to need a shot for the machine gun. I need the bullets impacting. I need the bullets ricocheting off the concrete as they arrive. So those things are all integral to each shot. Bam, bam, bam. Once the bullets hit those zombies, some of the zombies burst. So I'm going to need a sort of really wet sound, but not the same sound every time. So I'm going to make a few different. I've got a few ideas for this. We'll talk about that in class. Blood splatter. So we're going to have some blood just sort of splattering around, dropping on the ground. I mean, any liquid hitting concrete will probably work for that. We'll have to experiment. Then we've got some close-up shots, and that zombie has been in the water for a long time, so that'll be a bucket of water on a concrete thing, the wet zombie burst. Now we've got the exploding zombies, so they're going to be running at me screaming, and then they explode. So I probably can't record any explosions without getting into trouble, so I will be using a sound library for those sort of things. And here I change guns. Now if I'm swapping guns around, it's going to be clanking, mechanical clanks, and now I've got a different gun sound but I've already made a shotgun shot, so I don't need to repeat it. Oh, here I am using the melee magic hammer kind of thing. So I pull out a magic hammer and it reveals itself, and then it hits the ground, and this does something to the zombies. Quite common in games to have these sort of magical effects, so that's where I can synthesize something interesting. And if you look closely at the zombie that's affected by the hammer, it hits the ground, spreads out, and the zombie has this sort of shimmering light all over them. If I think it's necessary, I might put a sound for that, although things can get too cluttered. So something to be aware of is at some point an editor is going to look at what you've done and go, doesn't need that sound, and strip it down to the more important sounds. Fire a shot into that squeaky wheel thing again, which will set the shark off. All of those things have to be repeated. And at this point you can't hear it, but the radio voice comes in, and there's a bit of a radio tuner sound. We're tuning in, so I'll use that. And I need a body drop for that zombie that hit the ground before. So impact sounds. Here we are. The shotgun's loading in this scene, so filling it with shells before it shoots, so I need a sound for that. Whether that's a sound library sound or I find a mechanical sound. Nice big splashes there, firing off the squeaky wheel, and I'm being hit by a zombie from the side, which knocks me down. Now in this case, in a game, this is where a filter will come in and everything sounds a bit weird because I'm in trouble, I'm injured. So I can hear my heartbeat really loud in my ears. My body's just hit the ground, or I should say June's body hit the ground. Ideally with immersion, I do want to start thinking of it as me. I can hear the heartbeat in my ear as I'm on the ground. I'm getting hit by the zombie. I'm being attacked by the zombie. And so I need a sound for that. I pull out my pistol. I need a sound for that. I fire the pistol. It's a different sound again. I might reuse that shimmering light sound for the zombie that's affected by the bullet there. You can see that sort of yellow flame, similar to the hammer. So I'll use that sound. And there's a little laser there of a sniper. So the sniper's turned up, and with their laser, they're aiming up to shoot at me. Notice this electrocution shot. I'm using a gun that electrocutes people as well. A shotgun's not enough. It has to electrocute you. And at one point, I pick up a healing pack, so it heals me. Sniper laser sight and electric discharge shot. So all of those things have to be created. And here I am zooming in with my scope. I'm looking at the zombie. So I need a rifle shot, because now I'm using a sniper rifle, which will have a different sort of sound. I'll need the auto load because it's a semi-automatic rifle, so it's going to go bang, click as it reloads. Shooting down a zombie, a bit of a electric shock there. I'll use that sound again. There's another explosion. I'll probably have a few explosions because I don't want them to all be the same one. Then the sniper's shot at me and you can't hear it, but it zings past me, so that's a good one to have. Then I want a head explode. I'll probably use a couple of those. So here I am, another exploding zombie running at me. At this point, June says something, which is quite good. Explode. And here I'm going to run up and stab this poor zombie. Don't know what it's done, but I'm going to grab it and stab it down. And I'll need some sounds of the knife, probably going into a cabbage or something. We'll play around with it and figure out what sounds good. So I'll need the sound of the knife coming out, and of course the body dropping to the ground. There's a bit of healing sound in there as well. Another wet splat of a bursting zombie. And I will probably, there's body parts sort of flying around from that, so there might be a bit of pitter-patter on the ground of things hitting. Getting towards the end now, so running up, there's another zombie laser beam lining me up. I'm going to shoot that zombie with my sniper rifle, and then there's a sniper, so the nice medium close-up head explode, and there's a sniper over there. I'm going to use the special function to slow down my shot, because it's quite far away, and the scope zoom can have its own sort of sound to it, I think. Maybe a filter, just the sound changes as I concentrate. And there I lock onto my target, and it cuts away to a to a slow motion scene showing the tracking of the bullet, so I'll need a sound for that. And that little ding you heard in the background is someone sending me a message. Hooray! Luckily not a bullet. And so obviously I need a slow-mo bullet impact. A lot of this will be achieved by pitch shifting the track down. And then June finishes up the segment saying, I got him. So hopefully we'll hear that in class, and hopefully this video gives you some ideas for putting together your clip, how you can create your track. In the next video, here I'm just moving all those effects into an effects folder. In the next video, I will show you laying things out on these tracks, so empty clip groups to prepare for things that you have to record. And once we've got all that done, which is a job in itself, we are ready to start sourcing those sounds, recording them, putting them in. So it should be a fairly fun sort of activity. So you can see there's a lot of tracks there to fill in, a lot of mixing to do, but once you get underway, it's actually a pretty cool process. And you might find that you'll take turns, or you'll assign different parts to different members of your group. Somebody might be on footsteps and just try and record all the footsteps for the pass. Obviously I'm a group of me. Don't forget to save, very important. Now if you're not saving super often and something happens, it crashes, the power goes out, there's a session files backup folder in your session, and that's usually defaults to saving every 5 minutes. So that can really save you if you're doing a bunch of work and then something goes wrong, or you just change your mind. You spend 5 minutes working on something and go, ugh, don't want to do this now, I'll do it differently. Go to the session file backups, and away you go. So have fun, and we'll see you in the next video. I'd say like and subscribe, but you're watching this on Moodle, so like and subscribe if you like. Alright, ka kite.